stars who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton Beatty, co-founder of World of Wonder, here with James St. James.
I'm first? What is going on? What's happening? The world has gone mad.
Switching up the order this week. Literary sensation, of course, and editor of the Wow Report. And our chief creative director, Tom Campbell.
Well, hello, Fenton.
Hello, how are you?
So good to be here.
And we're in the basement of
No!
Through the magic of YouTube, for those of you watching radio, we're usually in the window overlooking Hollywood Boulevard.
We are in the window right now because didn't you get a picture? And that's
It's
what the whole point
special
of
effect.
Oh, I thought we were really in the window.
We were all told today.
I was so confused. What's going on? I thought I was going colorblind or
I think
something.
we're going to save the reason that we're on
Yes,
green screen
we gotta
until the very end.
But we were all told not to wear
Don't
green.
go away.
We were told not to wear green. I never, ever, I swear to you, I never wear green. And on the weekend, I bought a green striped T-shirt.
Just to be ornery.
Today's the day I'm going to wear the T-shirt. I didn't think.
I did send a message
you
last
did.
night saying no green, people.
Okay.
To the best
No
I can.
green.
To the best I can.
Without further ado, because you know what we do on this show is we count down the top 10 things that make us go,
Wow.
And so let's get started. Number 10, Tom.
Number 10.
I don't know about you, but it's been kind of an extraordinarily depressing week. So I need a lot of wows to keep me going. So I'm glad I'm here. I think I will leave this hour feeling better because I usually do.
Yeah.
So number 10 is sort of on theme, ironically, but Sacha Baron Cohen, Barat, and all those wonderful things, has his new show on Showtime.
Has it debuted yet?
Who is America?
Okay.
There is a link to the best story of the week. I have a feeling I'm going to be digesting this online more than on Showtime, but I did watch the whole show this week. Have you seen it?
I've just seen the clip and I was like gobsmacked.
Wait, is this the Sarah Palin thing?
It's been leaking that Sarah Palin
Yes.
has been getting ahead of it because she was interviewed by him. Sacha Baron
Is she
Cohen.
in the first episode?
No, she's not.
Oh my
so
God.
something to look forward to.
Yes.
But you know,
Did you ever think you would say looking forward to something in Sarah Palin in the same sentence?
Yes. Well, he's introduced 4 new characters. And you know his rep as Barat and stuff.
Yes.
He somehow gets people to go on camera pretending he's like a real thing.
God
so
knows it must be drugs or something because like it looked like a sort of mashup of Borat and all the other.
Yes.
It was like,
And for a while there, it seemed like his shtick had gotten a little stale, and then he went away for a long time, and now he's back. And when he's on, he's on, and when he's brilliant.
And
he
the
really
reviews
is.
are somewhat mixed, but I think it's great. But I just want to go through his characters. Billy Wayne Ruddock is this kind of like, he's in a wheelchair. There was Sarah Palin said she was duped into talking to him because he was a disabled veteran. It's like, no, he's angry at Obamacare because if he hadn't gone to the doctor, he wouldn't have found out he had diabetes. So that's his point of view. He's crazy. And then there's Ricky Sherman, who is, which one is he? He's British. We're going to cut through that. And then another one is Nara Kane and Giochello, who is like the ultimate NPR shirt wearing like liberal who's very funny. And then there is
this is my favorite.
Iran Murad, who is the breakaway star of it, who's like an Israeli pro-gun defense guy. So, you know, he talks in different characters. He talks to different real people, and they can be liberal, they can be conservative. Bernie Sanders is duped, although Bernie Sanders comes out looking pretty good because he like holds up to the guy. He talks to this very conservative Southern family who as the liberal character, and he's so rude to them, and they kind of keep their civility. So good
As
on
Southern people can do.
Good on them. And there was this one art museum manager, woman blonde from Laguna, and he plays an artist who paints with his own feces and asks her for pubes at the end to put into his paintbrush that he's creating. And she takes his art so seriously and so respectfully. And at one point he goes, "I'm so sorry I asked you for your pubes." She goes, "You didn't ask, I volunteered." And I think she comes off great. She's totally making liberal fun, but she's open-minded. I love to see that. But the pièce de résistance that you can see online is as the character, the Israeli character, he says that there is a program in Israel that arms kindergartners.
What?
Arms
Oh, okay.
Kindergarten.
Sure.
Preschoolers.
Toddlers. 4-year-olds. And they're great because they haven't, they don't have that sense of fear or right or wrong yet. And they haven't been tainted by homosexuality, comes out in the thing too. And he talks to a gun lobbyist, Larry Pratt.
Right.
He talks to another evil guy named Philip Van Cleve, who's a big pro-gun guy. You see him on all the time. Joe Walsh, who's a former congressman, radio host. And he gets them all, Trent Lott, to do this commercial for kids that includes what's that heads, shoulders, touch the toes, and they have a gun. They put like a puppy fur on the
guy's a
gun as a puppy for kids, and they're holding it.
Like a cuddly toy.
Yeah, and it's like and if he's got a fat belly, shoot him in the belly, and it's like heads, shoulders, not the toes. It's insane. And it basically says that these guys will say anything, that their extremism is beyond compare. And, some people are saying, the old Borat show on HBO was on before the internet really took over in the late 90s.
So things weren't buzzworthy in the same way.
Yes. And also that it's that liberal side saying sometimes it feels cruel now, or it doesn't have the same impact. It is a different time, but anytime you can call out people for just being the a-holes that they are. And I think not everybody comes off looking bad.
That's what I was going to say, because it sounds like you're celebrating some people and giving other people the business.
It's the ultimate, that ABC show that I never watched called What Would You Do?
Right.
And they always have those things in diners and people. This is a What Would You Do for Showtime. It's so worth watching. Again, I think there are going to be clips available, but the best part is they try to get ahead of it. So Sarah Palin is trying to get ahead of it and say that she was duped and all this kind of stuff. Can't wait to see what that media whore does on this show.
Because the gun thing alone is it's worth every Emmy there is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's epic. And you cannot believe that they participate in this stuffed toy, cuddly toy infomercial.
It one was a gunny rabbit.
A gunny rabbit.
That's right. And they're doing it like you're making a PSA. Yeah. And they're doing it.
Well, it's so funny because, like I said, Sacha Baron Cohen, it was sort of over for me a little bit, and then I guess it's time to revisit him because he did sort of go away for a little bit, and I feel like I don't know I guess I have to give him another chance.
It's so pointed because I think Bruno was fabulous, but not socially.
Yeah, I think that's where I fell off a little
bit.
I think I was sort of offended by that.
And it just reveals how, I'm only going on the little extract online, but it just reveals how gullible and stupid and awful Republicans are.
It's the best piece of the half hour, yes. And one congressman does say, what, you want me to say that I'm in favor of giving guns to 4-year-olds? He goes, members of Congress don't just repeat because you say it happened, and then they cut to 9 congressmen repeating exactly what he happened to say. Anyway, I'm over it. There you have it.
Yeah. Who is America? So it's a series, right?
It's a series.
How
on
many
Showtime.
hours? I wonder.
As many as
7.
Yes.
7 episodes, I think.
Every Sunday, 10 p.m. Showtime, or anytime on the Showtime app. James, what made you go wow this week?
Number 9.
Well, I just found something on Netflix called The Mortified Guide.
What is that?
It's 6 1-hour episodes, and I thought that we had talked about this on the show before. I think there's a show that travels around and people get up on stage and read from their old diaries. I thought you had talked about this before. I feel like we've done this, but anyway,
There was something about masturbation. Is that something?
Probably, because it's people getting up on stage.
Yes.
It's people getting up on stage and reading their diaries from when they were 6 years old, teenagers.
Oh, wow.
And they tell these. It's really embarrassing, and it's mortifying in a way that is cathartic, and everybody laughs along with you. And
it's a special?
No. It's like I said, it's 6 1-hour episodes, which is a long time. But
Multiple people in one episode.
Multiple people in one episode. People get on stage. There's also man on the street interviews where people say, what's the most embarrassing sex thing that's ever happened to you? There's also, they do little animated stories of people's embarrassments. This one girl, this was reading, when she was 4 years old, her mother, who was a therapist, sat her down and told her about the birds and the bees. And then she went into her bedroom, and drew pictures of what she thought her mother meant by all these things. And it's just hysterical. It's 20 pictures, and it's like a cheerleader saying, "Sex, yay!" And it's so funny. There's this other girl, this little Asian girl who got on stage, and she was saying that when she was younger, she had a thing for men in uniform. And she was reading her diaries about the guy Outback, the waiter at Outback, because because he was in a uniform, and she just would have all these sex fantasies about him. And then there was the tour guide at Disney World that she fell in love with because of his little uniform. And it's very funny. It's very weird. There was.
Did you keep a diary when you were that
did.
age? Have you gone back and looked at it?
Well, it got thrown away at some point, and I'm really upset because it was really something. I am sure. I have all my diaries from high school, and I haven't really gone through those yet. I'm scared of that, but I'm sure my middle school years were very scary. Did you have one?
At 12, I started keeping a diary until I was like 21, and occasionally I look at it, and it is so mortifying. I could never get up on the stage
the
and
thing
read
is,
from it.
And what everyone keeps saying too is that I have no idea what this is, who this person is, why I'm obsessed with this boy for a year and a half, and you have no memory of him. There was also one where this girl got up and she read her fanfic porn that she wrote when she was in 7th grade about John Bon Jovi, and how she's at her locker and she can't remember her locker number, and behind her she feels a breath on her, and it's about John Bon Jovi, and he says, "Let me help you," and then they do it right there, and she pulls at his jockstrap, and she's like, "What? I don't know. Why is he wearing a jockstrap?" She's like, "I think that I saw a picture of a boy in a jock, and I thought that all boys wore jockstraps."
Sure.
So that's what it's the idea that you don't know what sex is, but you're still writing about it, and it's absolutely hysterical, and I just think that you should search it out.
Have you watched every episode then?
I've watched a few episodes. I haven't done the whole thing yet.
And is it just one season or
so far it's just one season. Yeah.
I was more artistic. I used to draw my own porn at a very young age.
Well, no, wait. This is
Do you have it still?
No, because I had to destroy it several times.
But I knew a guy.
Civilization.
I knew a guy who did the porn cartoons for Inches or Honcho or one of those. You know how they would do like those? And he said the only way he could ever get off anymore was to draw, because he knew what he liked, and so he would draw what he liked, and that's how he could get off.
I had no access. All of my, it would be the backyard of a house that bachelors were living in, because I didn't know who gay people were, and they would be kind of in their underwear sunning themselves with cans of beer, and they'd be very hairy like Burt Reynolds.
You've spoken many times about your Burt Reynolds hairy chest obsession.
It's true.
Wow.
I'm mortified.
Mortified is such a misleading title, right? It's like sort of adolescent diaries.
But it's reveling in your mortification, because the mortified part is standing on stage and reading this to people.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think there was like a live show about this down the street at Kingpin.
That's what I'm thinking. And there was one that it was just celebrities, and it was like Eric Stone Street would get up and read, and so. But I think this idea has been floating around for a while, but they've sort of done it on Netflix.
Maybe we should do a special WoW report with all the things that we've mortified.
I'm feeling sweaty just thinking about it.
I feel like I know both stories. I think I know all of your stories.
We're very open here.
Well, moving on.
Quickly.
Number 8.
Number 8.
I went to see Skyscraper.
Oh.
My British niece was in town, and I thought,
adorable girl.
Lucy,
Adorable.
We love you,
Yes.
Lucy.
We miss you already. I thought, let's take her to a nice American movie, Skyscraper.
Did you go to ArcLight?
Grove.
Okay.
It's basic. Did you ever see The Towering Inferno?
Sure.
Yes.
But this is The Towering Inferno on steroids. I mean, I loved every second. I thought it was really good. And, the great thing about The Towering Inferno, I thought, because I'm into architecture, was the tower itself. I thought it was like this beautiful 70s state-of-the-art piece of design. Well, let me tell you, the inferno that's burning in Skyscraper it's called the Pearl, and it's this sort of twisty, sort of Zaha Hadid type thing with a pearl at the top, and it's actually supposed to be. It's based on a local myth of the dragon. The whole body of the skyscraper is a dragon, and it's supposed to be clutching a pearl in its teeth. Local myth, something like that. Anyway, it's an ultimate. Yes.
Where is this? Where is it?
Hong Kong.
Okay.
Hong Kong. And it's 3,500 feet, which is 225 stories high. And I mean, you know what the story is going to be, right? I mean,
he's just leaping from building to building, and he's falling from building off the
People
building.
that he cares about are in jeopardy. Actually, I guess there's a little bit Die Hard too. People are in jeopardy in the building, and he's got to beat the bad guys and rescue his family.
And what causes the fire, whatever happens?
What causes it? Actually, it's a clever moment what causes the fire. Baddies cause the fire,
Yeah.
but the way they cause the fire is it's the safest building, right? It's got
Like
state-of-the-art
Towering
everything.
Inferno,
The
yeah.
safest building can't be burnt
Titanic,
down.
yeah.
But unlike in Towering Inferno, where it's the architect subcontractor's
Yes.
fault, the baddies come in and they spread this powder on the floor. It's an unoccupied floor. They spread this powder that when they hold a flare up to the what are they called? Sprinklers. Thank you. The sprinklers set off, fall down on this powder that ignites. It's water ignited
fire.
stuff.
Water ignited fire, my goodness.
And then they get control of the building's computer system, and then they manage to turn the whole thing into a towering inferno. And Dwayne Johnson to the rescue. I have to say, I mean, he's really good. And at this point, I suppose, in his career, he seems to be doing every single action genre.
He is in every movie,
Yes, he's
5
among
times a year.
Presumably, this did not open as well as they thought this movie.
It did
Would
not.
not.
It's not doing that.
Well, because whatchamacallit beat it.
Yes. Whatchamacallit did. It is a white knuckle ride, though. I mean,
Whatchamacallit? We're
I
so
felt
precise.
You know,
that movie.
No, the kids movie. The kids
Which was
movie.
3, Transylvania.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a funny story to tell you about that. So we're going into the Grove.
You can't do 2 stories in one. Okay.
Getting the popcorn, and it hotel, and they sometimes have to abbreviate the title.
Oh, it said Trans 3.
Hotel Transit. That's not good.
No.
So anyway, went into Skyscraper. I experienced vertigo. I mean, really true vertigo. And my palms were sweaty every single trick they throw at you. It really is an amazing roller coaster ride. And I'll tell you who's really, really good in it. Neve Campbell.
Oh.
Back from semi-retirement. I've seen her doing the talk show circuit.
She
nice to
plays
see her
his
again.
wife.
Yeah.
And then I thought I had a bit of a crush on Byron Mann, who's the police chief. Just very hot. Doesn't
Man in
have much
uniform.
to do. I mean, and you can tell the whole thing's been made it's a sort of Asian
Well,
American.
set in Hong Kong, which
Yes.
is it's already a tip to we want
It
this to be
is.
big in China, right?
Yes, and I think it should be. But it's interesting because, he's got this career and he's doing all these movies. I mean, he is probably the hardest working man in showbiz. And
Used to
he's
be Gary Collins.
He's going to make a, what?
Move on. Ignore. That's just for 2 people out there. And they're both us. Okay, go on.
Okay, I'll have to ask you. Anyway, he's going to make a presidential run, right?
Oh, no, he said he's not. He said that he wasn't going to do it in 2020, that maybe he's thinking in 2024 he's going to go back.
I think he has a few more movies to do to prove that he can be president. But it's interesting, James, because this is what I wanted to throw out to you, is this, the movie promotes this idea of the person going rogue against any kind of institution or authority is by definition corrupt and evil, and I alone can fix it, which I think ultimately is perhaps more than violence, which everybody complains about violence in Hollywood. I think the toxic message is that, the idea of the lone hero who is pitted against what is always corrupt establishment. Don't you think that isn't that message drummed over and over again? Many, doesn't that help explain
What's going on now with
the
everything?
so-called president? Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay, yeah, no, I'll buy that.
Buy it. I'm trying to think of how you would tell the story differently, but so it was
right.
no, but it's because there was propaganda movies for America in World War II and whatnot. I wanted to think about it.
Now, I've been reading a lot of reviews of this, and one of them that interested me the most was in Jezebel, and they were saying that what?
It's the Blake.
Well, let me get
You just never see it.
What? Okay, well, God, he's jumping up and down, like telling me to shut up.
No, I want to hear what you're going to say.
One of the reviews in Jezebel,
Jumping up and down, just putting it in perspective. Go ahead.
one of the reviews in Jezebel said that they went into it all, being thinking that it was going to be crap, and they went into it, with the jaundiced eye, and wasn't going to give it a chance, and then halfway through they started crying, and they just started like ugly bawling, and that it really did like touch a lot of inner thing. Like, did you notice that? Did you get emotional at some point?
I did get emotional, and I found that Neve Campbell, as the wife, broke out of that traditional damsel in distress and really kicked ass. And it was just refreshing. I mean, Dwayne Johnson is Dwayne Johnson. I think he's got beautiful skin, and he does these incredible things. But I did find it moving. Yeah.
Now, there were also so a physicist was reviewing it, and they went through scene by scene of everything.
Killjoys.
I know. where he's like leaping from a tractor across, and they were saying there's no way they like would have all the little equations and everything.
The crane scene was absolutely sick-making to your stomach. It was,
but he would have gone plop into the window
amazing.
below, or he would have. There was no way he could have ever done that. So
I've told you this. Any point in a movie that involves upper body strength to save you, I'm dead. So usually, like 2 minutes into the movie, I'm like,
Oh, I forgot
Movie's
to
over.
mention the best part of all is that Dwayne Johnson has, by some story that sets the whole thing up, he's missing a leg. He has an artificial leg that I
he's
promise you
doing all these
delivers
leaps.
in so many ways. It is
Okay.
a plot device. That and duct tape. I tell you, they're the keys to his
I'm
success.
already turned
of this
on.
movie.
And yet there are people, I've read on the Twitter, there are people who are missing limbs who object to Dwayne Johnson playing such a person. Oh, what a world.
All right, well, we have
what a
to
world.
take a quick break. Question, okay? Do a little question.
Sure, trivia.
How many Emmys was World of Wonder nominated for? It's just... It's just a
little
trick.
plug.
It's a little trick question. It was 10 for Drag Race and 2 for Untucked. But
Yes.
that's not the question, okay?
just had to get that little self-serving out. Woo!
Wow.
It's easy to remember because there's 12 indictments of Russians. It's the same number. Magic 12.
12 donuts and
Okay, here's the real question. The word skyscraper, what is the origin of the word and when was it first used? You're listening to The Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Oh, do you want to know what's in the box?
WOW presents World of Drag, our first subscription box.
The producers of Drag Race have hunted down the most sickening items from around the world. Subscribe today and you'll receive a different curated box 4 times a year. I wonder what's in this one.
I want to know what's in the box. It sounds dangerous.
Oh my God.
First and foremost is the most important thing in this box. It's my book.
Ooh, it's the Purse Person makeup bag.
Just put your toothbrush, put your butt plugs, and toothpaste.
Wonder what else was in the box.
Oh, we've got a little travel tag. That's super cute. Next, I see Sacha Velour playing cards. This is the unicorn pool float. Isn't she gorgeous? We've got our World of Wonder nuts to soup. Aww, squirrel friend.
What's in here?
This one right here is the drag tot pin. You never know which one you're gonna get. There's 5 of them to collect. Like Pokemon, you gotta catch them all. That's not it. World of Wonder art collection series. Oh, this is gorgeous. And you get all of that in the first World of Drag box.
Sign up now.
Subscribe now at worldofdrag.com and get ready for some fun delivered right to your door.
World of Drag.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We're counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow. This week, I'm here with Tom Campbell and James St. James. I'm Fenton Bailey and also Blake Jacobs.
I'm here.
Okay, so before the break, the question was the word skyscraper because we went to see the movie Skyscraper and I loved it. James, not so much. Are you going to see it, Tom?
I'm closer to seeing it now than I was before I heard about it.
I might watch it on TBS when it's on 7 times in a row on a Sunday.
I might need some air conditioning this weekend. I don't know.
The word skyscraper, what is the origin of the word and when was it first used?
It sounds like a 1920s phrase to me. It sounds like it's
Skyscraper.
Yeah.
The Charleston.
Yeah.
Bathtub gin.
I'm going to say it's the 1920s, and I was going to say it's maybe about the Chrysler Building.
I like all that. What's that little tiny building in New York? The little
The
wedge
iron
of
thing.
yes.
What's it called?
The Flatiron?
The Flatiron building.
Okay.
I feel like that was incredibly tall when they built it. So
Like
I'll say,
the 1880s? 1860s?
yeah, but it was
Ooh, getting really close.
something like that. What's the answer?
Well, it was first used, the oldest confirmed reference in print was the Chicago Daily, 1883.
Okay.
Which is like 3 years before the Statue of Liberty was unveiled. And skyscraper comes, I had no idea, from a nautical term which refers to a small triangular sail placed above the sky sail on a sailing ship.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? That's what it is.
And does it say how tall the building was that was first called?
No, but
Skyscraper?
there's a big famous skyscraper in Chicago, which is considered the first skyscraper.
But we
Sears
take for granted.
Tower?
I think it's earlier than that.
We take for granted because of steel and stuff that buildings can be as high as they want them to be.
Right.
And at one point, seeing a building that was like over 3 stories tall was like, what's going on? This defies all science.
All everything.
Yeah.
And the other thing I discovered.
Is this why I was asked to move? Because I'm going to be talking about this in my yeah.
Oh.
Well, I thought you knew that, and that's why you had me move.
Well, we'll all will be revealed, James. There's a method to the madness. Okay, so
I wonder what they're talking about.
what's number 7?
Number 7.
In someone's passing, you have that moment to reflect on their lives and a whole era. And I follow Nancy Sinatra, These Boots Are Made for Walking, on Twitter. And she announced this past week that her mother, Nancy Barbados Sinatra, yes,
I
the same
do remember
name
hearing.
as
Did you
Randy.
think there's a long lost connection?
They're from New Jersey, right?
Yeah, but she
I
died.
imagine there's 10,000 Barbados in New Jersey.
But Nancy Sinatra died at 101, the mother, Frank's first wife, and confidant, they say in the New York Times. Now, Barbado is the same name as Randy Barbado, who's Fenton's co-founder of World of Wonder. I asked Randy yesterday, doing some deep investigative reporting, and he said, I don't think so. But how many Barbados are there in Jersey?
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking there are 100,000.
Where in Jersey? That's the key. If it's Putin.
It doesn't say Putin. But look how cute they are. She married
She is beautiful.
Frank Sinatra in 1939 when he was a singing waiter. Can you imagine? Because there's no bigger star in the world today, yesterday, forever than Frank Sinatra. And she married him just at the cusp, just the moment. And they
Was
talk
she
about
responsible for his rise as the Bobby Soxer?
Well, they talk about she was the one making meatless lasagna, so there would be, to stretch a dollar. She made her own clothes. She traveled with him. She took care of him. It's that very first wife story, right?
Right, but was she a Kris Jenner type thing where she was a part of his success, or was she just?
She's not presented that way, but just as sort of the dutiful wife who stood beside him, who gave birth to his 3 children.
All 3.
Yes, Nancy Sinatra Jr., Frank Sinatra Jr. and Christina Sinatra, who of course is Tina. And Frank Jr. has gone on, but she is survived by Nancy and by Tina. I'm also a big, speaking of Sirius Radio, I'm a big Seriously Sinatra listener, and I love when Nancy does her show. But her name was Nancy Rose. Her maiden name was Barbado, and she was just kind of beautiful Italian lady.
And what happened to her when Barbara came along?
Well, it's before Barbara. They were divorced.
Oh, there was Ava.
It was 1939 they got married. 1951 they got divorced.
Okay.
In
like 11 years.
Yes. Yeah. But during that time he blew up.
That's when he was
the
biggest
Bobby
star.
Soxer.
Yeah.
And he was rumored to be having affairs and was having affairs, no doubt, with lots and lots of women. I mean,
Lana Turner of Ava Gabor.
Yeah, it's one of these things that you can't even imagine being Frank Sinatra and not having affairs. You know what I'm saying? And you can't imagine. But at first she sort of put it off and did not marry him because he fell in love. He had lots of affairs, but he fell in love with Ava Gardner.
Yeah.
And moments after.
Did I say Ava Gabor? Is that what I've been saying?
Did. That's why
I'm so
here.
embarrassed.
But
Ava Gardner.
He said Lana Turner, but Ava Gardner, and they had
the most beautiful woman on the planet.
Absolutely, and a big boozers, both of them. He also, and she remained quiet all those years. And they're saying here that she was his confidant. She was his midnight call, not a booty call, but midnight call. And the grandson says that oftentimes the phone would ring, grandma would be on the phone, and the next thing you know, she'd be taking some eggplant out of the freezer because Frank was coming over for like a late night snack and a confidant. Frank had some high profile romances and engagements. First to Juliet Prowse. Do you remember this? And then he was engaged to Lauren Bacall.
Wasn't she when she had nylon? Commercials in the 70s,
and those ones, and then he had a very unfortunate, short-lived marriage to Mia Farrow, who was like Nancy's age, was like very young, and again
during Rosemary's Baby is when they fell in love,
and quiet through all of that, and but they stayed close, and when they divorced, she was given the house in Holmby Hills that I think she had the rest of her life, like the Cadillac, and an annual percentage of his income.
Oh, because I was going to say, I was a little worried that she died in poverty or something. No, she did okay for herself.
That's a good deal.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good deal. And, she never married again. dutiful Catholic wife. She was there for him. She was there for her children. And
what did she look like at the end?
She
Is there a
hardly.
picture of her?
Yeah, there is. She's like a cute. She's cute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's an older Italian woman.
Yeah, but she looks like your mom, right? And this last thing to close it up is she rarely gave interviews, but I guess in the 90s she was asked, why didn't you remarry? And her answer was impeccable. After Sinatra?
It's true. It's true.
So, rest in perfection, Nancy Rose Barbados Sinatra, who lived to an amazing age of 101.
And did it in style, I guess.
Amen.
She died on Friday, July 13th. James, number... Oh, it's me, number 6.
Number 6.
Let's go.
I tell you what made me go, wow. I took my niece visiting from England because we had to find some things to do. No, we went to see Beyond the Streets, which is a graffiti show downtown. You kind of drive downtown into this sort of wasteland of warehouses and sort of broken down streets. And it's in this sort of 50,000-foot warehouse. And it's the most amazing collection of graffiti art. I didn't realize there's actually a difference between graffiti art and street art. Apparently, I think graffiti art is more about tagging and writing, whereas street art is more about pictures. They're both illegal. And then there's also mural art. And this exhibition, you got the usual, you've got Keith Haring, Kenny Scharf, Shepard Fairey, Basquiat. But also there's Dennis Hopper. Was kind of like a graffiti artist. Well, his pictures look like it, so they put them in the exhibition. Retner, do you know Retner? Like he does these sort of hieroglyphs, and they used to be on La Brea a lot, like these sort of very
black and white.
Yes,
they're everywhere.
But yeah, Retner.
They seem like they're everywhere in a good way.
And then, Space Invader. He's this guy who puts little mosaic of Space Invaders.
We have one on World of Wonders building. Yes.
Right.
In fact, when he put it up there, he went through, it took months and months to get the okay and everything and get him here. And then there was a huge crowd outside of people, and the press was here, and it was a big deal at the time.
Oh.
If you're ever on Hollywood Boulevard, you can see Space Invaders.
It's on the, it's on the southeast corner, right, of the building. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was slightly discursive. It's 50,000 square feet. That is big. And the great thing about graffiti, I suppose, it's sort of almost like the Museum of Ice Cream. It's a very Instagrammable thing. Right.
Yeah.
And there's lovely sort of collection of aerosol paint cans that you can take pictures of. And but it was sort of, there was an artist called Risk, who is his real life name, Kelly Graval. And he took a police car and sawed it in half. And
like Wendy O. Williams. Not Wendy O. Williams, right? Yeah.
Amazing.
The Plasmatics.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big punk rock band. And she used to, on stage every night, she would saw a car in half with a chainsaw.
Okay. Well, this is really a police car sawn in half like a Damien Hirst, like the Damien Hirst pig. In fact, that was his thinking. He was like saying, Damien Hirst said the shark is the predator, and that's why he did the shark in the glass case. So he took a police car, which he says is a predator, and the police are pigs, and sliced it down the side. And it's really quite stunning, actually, to look at. What else? Well, of course, and you have to exit through the gift shop. They even have a little sign, exit to the gift shop. And you can buy like Keith Haring and Jean-Paul Basquiat aerosol paint cans.
Did you go bananas and buy up the whole shop?
I didn't buy anything. I thought, I am not going to buy an aerosol paint can, a Keith Haring aerosol paint can. I'm just not going to do it. And there was also a giant can. That's what I was toying with, a giant can. But it was like $1,000. I'm like, I'm not going to buy a giant aerosol can.
But I've been with you at gift shops after things, and you love your little commemorative, yes.
Pours in the bag. Well, that's all right. Good for you. Good for you for making a different choice.
Yes. having some restraint for once in your life.
I'm always on the knife edge, like how I feel about graffiti art. I really love it. Like we just at the gallery, at the World of Wonder Gallery upstairs, we just had the Dennis Ouch show. And Dennis Ouch paints statues of liberties and famous scenes like stormtroopers with bananas. And it was really, I love his work. And but it's not an uncomfortable fit, but like how does graffiti art fit into the commodified art gallery landscape?
Well, hasn't this been decided with Basquiat and Haring and everything
so it
30 years ago? Yes.
But it just seems a little weird because on the one hand it's countercultural and on the other hand
didn't we have this argument over Dada and surrealism and point? I mean, like, we have every 20 years something come with pop art.
Yeah.
How does a soup can fit into art?
And that's
But we
I've
decide-
always loved graffiti. When they always are like trying to cover it up, or when you're on the subways or trains, I love it. I love seeing it. It excites me. It's beautiful. It seems to be ever changing. I love it as public art. I love it just as that it exists in its pure form.
James.
I'm not talking to you, James.
What are you gesticulating about?
I was doing the wrap up.
He's doing like this, like wrap it up, and I'm like, I haven't even been able to go yet.
You can get your tickets to Beyond the Streets at beyondthestreets.com. They're $25, and the show's on here in LA through August 26. James, number 5.
Number 5.
So I saw a movie on Turner Classic Movie called The Colossus of Rhodes, 1961, okay? The Colossus of Rhodes, for those of you who don't know, Fenton, I have a feeling you know all about this. The Colossus of Rhodes was a statue that was erected in a harbor on the Isle of Rhodes in the Greek islands back in 280 BC. It's a giant statue, about the size of Statue of Liberty. I don't know if it was bigger or smaller, do you know?
Same size, actually.
Same size. And this was it's one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world.
Yes.
Okay. It's absolutely people would come from far and away to see it. It was the god of war, and there was some things that said that he had molten lava and he would pour it on the enemies.
That was as a defense mechanism.
Yes, when they would go through the harbor. One of the interesting things about it is that it only was erected. It only was there for 54 years before an earthquake hit, and it fell. It toppled to the side, and at the time there was no way to move the statue. It was in 3 pieces. There was the head, the legs, and the body, and it sat there for 800 years
On the ground.
on the ground
Right.
for 800 years.
In pieces.
In pieces, and people would come again from far and wide to see
On the grand tour of Europe,
Yeah.
the Victorians would go and look at it and
and
admire.
it wasn't until I guess at the medieval time, you say the 1800s, that people were able to.
Well, maybe I'm wrong about that. Yes, because it got.
It finally, so the technology was there to melt it down and to carry it off. So anyway, so this is a movie about that, and it stars Rory Calhoun. Okay,
Handsome,
but a bit of a has-been. The thing is, it's at the time, and I'll sort of explain that. It's a sword and sandal epic,
Right.
and sword and sandal epics are biblical epics, gladiator movies, anything in the ancient times, and they're all incredibly gay.
homoerotic beyond.
Homoerotic beyond homoerotic.
Yep.
And it's men in these tiny little togas that cut off, so that you see their ass cheeks, you see a bulge, you see they're in gladiator sandals. No. And I'm telling you, they knew what they were doing. It was primarily for gay men. They would make these movies, even though they said they were Christian epics and stuff like that. The only people that are in the movie theater, I'm guessing, are old queens in raincoats. I'm sure it was like a bathhouse in the movie theater at the time, because it's Sergio Leone is his first movie.
Right.
The guy who did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But he's a macho man, manly
Known
man.
for westerns.
And you can't imagine that he was doing a gay movie in mind. So you think that it's the cinematographer, the costume designer, and the screenwriter that are all in cahoots together to show as much leg and thigh as possible, to show ass cheeks. There's always scenes where they're being tortured. They're on the rack. There's lots of armpit hair. There's nipples. There's every sinewy muscle. He's like they're on crosses. There's just like all hot men. There's women every once in a while, and they're in gauzy little things, but you never pay any attention to the women. It's always nothing but gladiators. Do you like gladiator movies, Timmy? In Airplane.
Yes.
Right? And
Right.
also, when you think of Rocky Horror Picture Show, we can take in an old Steve Reeves movie, and that's what they're referring to here, because it was always Victor Mature, Steve Reeves, Rory Calhoun. It's these sort of washed up old actors.
And Spartacus was full on gay, wasn't it? There was a gay.
Spartacus is
I
very
forget.
gay. And that also falls into it. But it's fascinating to watch because it's a time capsule of muscle magazines and sword and sandal
Like
epics.
physique pictorial.
It's physique pictorial.
Yeah.
These are the only things that gays had to latch on to, and it's fascinating to watch. I've always been interested in the Colossus of Rhodes anyway, so this was an extra interesting thing for me to combine history and
A little
gay,
history, a
and
little
homoeroticism.
homoerotica.
It was absolutely fascinating.
So the statue falls down. I mean, not to give the movie away, but the statue statue comes down at the end.
Yeah, the statue does come down, and there's a whole great earthquake scene, and it's really great. It's sort of surreal because apparently you could really go into the eyes, and they acted as a lighthouse. And you could there's all these great scenes of people in the eyes of this giant face, and it was sort of surreal looking. I tend to gloss over when I see on Turner Classic Movie that there's a Western or a war movie or a sword and sandal epic, but I've learned that there really are things that you can glom onto in all of these things. And if you ever come across any good sword and sandal, it's good fat material.
Does Rory Calhoun change his toga at any point?
He wears a number of togas, and they're always very colorful, and they have bright sashes, and he gets to wear the best togas. And
It was in his contract.
Yeah.
Well, as it happens, the Colossus of Rhodes is released this week on Blu-ray.
Is it? Stop it. Really? I didn't know that.
That's
funny.
Very special, exciting news. So the question, we have to take a quick break. The question is, the Colossus of Rhodes inspired who to do what? You're listening to The Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Hi, my little fruits. I feel fruity. Yeah. Fruitcake, banana split, strawberry lemonade, blueberry pancakes, and a chocolate-covered pea. Hey, don't forget about me. Don't forget about me. Or me.
Yeehaw!
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton. I'm here with Tom and James.
You forgot my name.
I'm a little scared of you today, actually, James.
I'm sorry. I have back pain. And it bleeds
where?
into everything that we do.
It does. What's the
I don't know. I think my bed is tacoing, is what they call it.
Really?
It sort of falls in the middle. I have a taco bed.
What are you going to do about that?
I don't know. But my back, the bottom of my back is just killing me. I'm sorry. Go on.
Well, you were talking about the Colossus of Rhodes. I actually didn't know it was a movie. I thought you were just going to talk about this massive one of the seven wonders of the ancient world.
Yeah.
But my question was, before the break, Colossus of Rhodes inspired who to do what?
The guy who made the Statue of Liberty to make the Statue of Liberty.
That's what I would say too, but I'm thinking...
yes.
Is it?
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
But what's his name? And this is interesting because it was known as his statue when it was unveiled, but he has subsequently been forgotten. And it's not surprising anyone doesn't know his name.
That's what I worry about.
I've read about him, but I can't remember his name.
All he wanted to do, his big dream was to build the biggest statue in the world. It was a slightly Trumpy, thing he wanted to do.
But wasn't it based on his brother? Isn't that what they say? There's
that's
rumors
the big mystery.
Face.
Who is the face? Is
Right.
it his mother? Is it his brother? Was it his lover?
Was it Rory Calhoun?
But I like the idea of his brother.
I do too.
Drag
His brother
queen.
was a drag queen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's the gentleman's name?
His name was Auguste Bartholdi.
Salute. Thank you for the Statue of Liberty.
And by the way, the Colossus of Rhodes was 160 feet high, and the Statue of Liberty is 151 feet high. So it's 9 feet shorter. But if you include the pedestal and foundation, the Statue of Liberty is 305 feet.
That's where they get you.
Yeah. Okay, number 4, Tom. What made you go wow this week?
Number 4.
We've talked about this show before when it first came on. I have to be honest, there's a lot of times I'll check out an episode of a show for the Wow Report to keep my, toe in the water. I work in television, god damn it. And I watched the first episode of Pose and I was really encouraged by it and I really liked it. And it sort of built up episode after episode on my DVR. And I have taken the last couple of weeks to catch up. The finale is this Sunday. And can I tell you, I love this show.
And people are going bananas for it.
It's, there was a little bit of talk initially, like, well, maybe some of the actors, many trans actors and gay and straight, weren't the best. I can tell you, it's my Susan Lucci defense. When I worked at ABC, I'd watched Susan Lucci and All My Children for 30 years, and my boss, my new fabulous boss, was like, we don't think Susan Lucci can carry a scene. I'm like, there is nothing that Susan Lucci says or does as Eric Kane that I don't believe. And there's such an authenticity to these characters. There's such love in the production. I know it sounds crazy, but you feel, and it's Our Lady J and Janet Mock are the sort of the trans representations behind the scenes, along with Ryan Murphy, who deserves so much credit, and they've been writing and directing. I'm learning their names because I'm so slow, but MJ Rodriguez plays Blanca, Dominique Jackson plays Electra Abundance. She's amazing. India Moore plays Angel, who has this incredible storyline, is sort of this street walker who falls in love with
Peter's character.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there's, I think it's Haley Shahar, who plays Lulu Abundance, her role is just coming out now because there's certain members of the House of Abundance who are leaving. And then Angela Ross, also a House of Abundance, who goes to the House of Ferocity, which is just coming up. But they have told stories. And, one of the calling cards of World of Wonder, I will say, and this is a broad statement, but we definitely tell lots of stories of all the rainbow, the colors, and LGBTQ plus. But I think we make a point not to be maudlin about it and not to sort of revel in the victimhood of it.
To celebrate it.
To celebrate it. And that's what they're doing here. And so when I list off the story, they're talking about HIV, they're talking about fetishizing trans bodies, they're talking about drugs and prostitution, and it's all done in a very authentic way, and yet there is a pacing. A lot of times we say Ryan Murphy, God love him, goes off the rails.
That's what I've been worried about, and they say, I have not heard that from anyone.
It hasn't happened.
Well, we do know that he has one good season in him for a lot with Nip Tuck and Glee, and
because the good news is that it has been renewed for season 2,
right?
And that's been because I go to the ratings and look because I work in television. I don't know the +3s and +7s, the DVR watches, but it's been doing okay. And it's been holding on, but they renewed it for season 2, so it does have an audience. I want to know more about these characters. It's set in the 80s. The soundtrack, which almost any fast song we've had as a lip sync song on Drag Race, but the soundtrack's amazing, and it's something I've been looking forward to. Sunday nights won't be the same without Pose, and if you haven't watched it, or there's so much to see.
How can you binge it?
I'm sure you can.
Video on demand, I think.
Video on demand. Yeah. It's on FX.
FX now. I think.
Yeah, I think there's some really touching, beautiful things. I think it's great for young people. I think they've also captured. There's one little thing, and this is the maudlin thing. I'm maudlin. World of Wonder is not. But they one episode, it was about the fever. One of the kids got a fever, and they thought, well, he's seroconverted. This is the 80s to AIDS, and so they all do it, and they all and it ends up being that what's Mara? What's her name? The actress Kate Mara plays the wife of the guy who's been sleeping with trans, and so she finds out, and she ends up getting tested. And it's her character, ironically, that they said, well, she's at her family doctor. She goes, I want the HIV test, and he goes, well, you won't find out for a week. She goes, a week? I'm supposed to wait a week? And that just reminded me of that moment when you used to have to wait a week to find out if you had the deathly disease. Anyway, there's joy and family and music and beauty and ferocity, and I can't say enough.
Well,
I'm a bitch, and I can't say enough good things about
it's interesting that you should say that, because I follow a lot of bitches on Twitter, and a lot of people from the 80s, a lot of old, queens and everything like that. And every single one of them has, says, I lived through this time. I know these people. I know all this. And the representation is right. And Ryan Murphy has done it correctly. And I'm shocked by that, and I'm heartened by that. It makes me feel good to know.
And it's still a frothy soap opera. You know what I'm saying? It's not, again, it's not watching a dreary, this is what happened, I'm so sad. It's entertaining as well.
Season 2 returning in 2019 on FX, right?
Yeah.
James, number 3. What made you go, ow, this week?
Number 3.
That's a clue.
Well, this is one of those stories that I hesitate to. I don't know how we segue from this joyous, wonderful, optimistic thing to what I have to talk about here, because there was a gentleman who went on a Grindr date recently. He encountered a 10-inch appendage.
Let's say
shall
10-inch
we say?
dick.
Well, okay. Well, we're just gonna say he encountered a 10-inch dick, and the dick ruptured the back of his throat. He had to go to the hospital. There's a story on the Wow Report in which he tells all about it. He says that when he met the
There's
guy,
a grinning picture of him in a hospital
well,
bed.
because he's now a gay hero. Online, he has now become unbelievable. Anyway, he's a hero, which is to say, he met this. He talks about it. There's a huge interview with him, and he says, "How does it feel like when your airway is ruptured?" And he says, there was just a soreness in his chest at the time. He didn't really know what was going on. He finished it off. He was a trooper. He didn't, even though he was in pain, he just kept going. He kept going, marching on through.
Okay.
The next day, he woke up and he was crying. He was hunched over and he was really in a lot of pain. He went to the doctors and they said, "Did you immediately tell the doctors what happened?" He said, "No, because my mother drove me to the hospital." So he didn't want to. The doctor said there was a rupture in the airway. How did that happen? He did say, "I don't know." You still didn't tell them. And then he says, "I told my mom that I was violently coughing, and then I had to tell the doctors." So he was in the hospital for 3 days, okay? And then he says, "Have you told your mom the details yet?" And he says, "No, but it's on Facebook and it's making the round. It's only a matter of time before she finds out." And the interviewer says, "Does your mother know you're gay?" And he says, "Yeah, my parents know I'm gay. They just don't know I'm a whore."
True words have never been said.
So he's just talking about what the feedback has been, and he says that a lot of people call it, a lot of homophobic douchebags are saying you should die in fire. But then he says, besides that, I feel like everyone on Twitter thinks it's funny, and they say I'm iconic and a legend. They say I am their leader, and and then they ask him if he's seen the guy since, and he says yes. And the guy works in an ambulance and says that he's well aware of the body, and he says from now on, when he sucks him off, that he's going to be more gentle and he's not going to poke the back of his mouth like he was doing before.
Wait, the guy with the big dick works and is like a paramedic?
Yes, and so he said when he explained to him what happened, he said, "Oh, I get it. I'm sorry, and that from now on I won't be quite as rough with
America
your mouth."
must be looking for this man.
I know, right? He's a paramedic with a 10-incher, so he's
where are we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
what this is. But there's the guy in the but there's a picture of the guy. He's adorable, and he's just smiling the smile of someone who's just had a 10-inch dick in their mouth.
How do how does a ruptured esophagus heal?
I guess just
give it rest and plenty of liquids or something.
Slowly, a little less dating. See, I think it's like, thank God people can talk about this. Mm-hmm. There's a lesson learned here. A penis can be too big. You can insert it in yourself in a way that is damaging, and we should all be aware.
The doctors, once he did tell the doctor did say that's like 1 in 100 million chances of it happening.
Okay.
It's not something that will happen, but it is something to maybe be
Finding
aware of.
a guy with 10 inches on Grindr is 1 in a million? Thank you.
You can read more about this story on the Wow Report. Okay, number 2.
Number 2.
There's no segue again for this. I went to see in New York recently Head Over Heels.
Oh, yeah.
It's in previews on Broadway.
With Peppermint.
It's the latest jukebox musical to use hit songs.
Yes, the Go-Go's musical.
The Go-Go's hits.
Starring one of our girls.
And yes, well, I'll come to that.
I'm so sorry. I'm doing it again.
The story, this is really interesting because so on the one hand, you've got this jukebox musical of the Go-Go's, Our Lips Are Sealed, we got the beat.
Vacation.
Vacation.
All I want.
And then, so what's the story? The story is, this really made me laugh because I had no idea before I went. It's a reworking of Sir Philip Sidney's Arcadia, which I know you've all read, which is a very long prose work written in 1586 by Sir Philip Sidney.
Why somebody is punking you? This can't be
No,
true.
totally true.
I've heard about it a
He
little bit.
wrote it for his sister. Sir Philip Sidney wrote it for his sister, who just happened to be the Countess of Pembroke. So it's actually, technically, it's the Countess of Pembroke's Arcadia. And it is a book. It is a prose book that's very long, and the story is basically this. The Duke of Arcadia journeys to the oracle at Delphos and receives a bleak prediction. His daughters will be stolen by undesirable suitors. He will be cuckolded by his wife, and his throne will be usurped by a foreign state. Hoping to preempt this fate, the Duke retires to a pastoral lodge with his wife, Gynecea, their daughters, Pamela. Blah, 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 blah. So, needless to say, in the country, there's a hot shepherd boy roaming the hills, tending his sheep. And to win the hand of the princess, because that's the way it worked in those days, he has to cross-dress as an Amazon warrior. And so hilarity ensues, and all these predictions from the Oracle of Delphos come true, and there's lots of same-sex unions. And this is actually the story in Arcadia.
How do you translate that into 1980s or whatever?
Well, they did. They did it brilliantly. They wrote it all in iambic pentameters, so it's all like Shakespeare language. I mean, the whole thing is like slightly mind-blowing, and then every now and then they burst into go-go songs. It's pretty fucking good, and
it sounds crazy.
Crazy. And Peppermint, yes. Peppermint plays Pythio, the Oracle. The other thing is Ariane Phillips did the costumes.
Oh, we love Ariane. Yeah.
Jeff Whitty, who was the creator of Avenue Q, I think he's the creative mind behind this. Michael Mayer, who directed Spring Awakening and also did Hedwig, is the director. And Anne Klein, who used to be the Pop-Tarts guitarist, is one of the musicians.
Well, there you have it. It's the best of the best.
Mm-hmm. So,
not related to Anne Klein separate.
No relation, no.
I am curious to know how our lips are sealed. Where does that come up? What's the big?
It begins with "We Got the Beat." I'm not giving anything away by that. And you know that after intermission, it's got to be "Our Lips Are Sealed." Or is it right before intermission? I can't remember.
Do they have "Nobody Walks in L.A."? That was one of my favorite songs.
That's the missing person.
They didn't. But Chris, here's the thing, guys. Chris Willman in Variety wrote this brilliant thing. He says, really, he said it should be called "A Very LGBT Thing Happened on the Way to the Mask."
I like that.
MASQUE, 17th century court performance, and Mask, the punk nightclub where the Go-Go's earn their chops. And you know where we are right now? We are sitting in the Mask nightclub. The World of Wonder building used to be the Mask nightclub. This sort of West Coast punk, pretty fetid, right? It was very sort of, what's the word? Petri dish of creativity and punk and things. And the Go-Go's played here.
And it's covered in graffiti.
And we have Belinda Carlisle sucked my dick in the bathroom.
Yes, we do.
Some of the graffiti is from 1979.
Oh, that's graffiti. That isn't an actual story of yours.
No.
That's
Belinda
how it sounded to me.
No, you didn't rupture her esophagus.
No.
How dare you?
Tie it up in a little bow.
Head Over Heels officially opens on Broadway at the Hudson Theater on July 26th. Go see it. Peppermint's fantastic.
Is she good?
Season 9 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Fantastic performer.
Okay.
Ariane Phillips is a good friend of ours.
A quick break. Here's a question. How many Emmy nominations for RuPaul's Drag Race? I'm the only one who's enjoying this joke, but, whatever. Okay. When we come back, the Resistor of the Week and the number one thing that made us go, wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
In a world on the brink of chaos, where fear is the rule of the land,
we will build the wall.
The voices of a generation have banded together. Bianca Del Rio, Adore Delbano, Valentina, Latrice Royale, and Detox. With the supermodel of the world, RuPaul. To give our planet what it needs. Baby drag queens.
Field trip! Yeah, set phasers to stunning.
Ooh, snap.
Oh, maybe you're just not cut out to be a real queen.
Because reading is what?
Fundamental. What day are you supposed to be, cornball? I'm a Taurus day. That's not even... Glitter powers activate. My best friends in the entire world made this dress for me out of love and kindness and sisterhood. It's priceless and it's not for sale.
I'll give you $10,000.
Sold.
Yeah!
I'm still offended.
But give me a taco.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We've been counting down the top 10 things that make us go,
wow.
I'm here. My name is Quentin. I'm here with Tom.
My name is Tom.
And James St. James. And Blake. So, yeah, we're at number one. What is number one, Tom?
Number one.
Well, we mentioned before, for those of you watching, those of you listening, we usually, we're here in the World of Wonder headquarters on Hollywood Boulevard. We're usually in the window, face with Musso and Frank's behind us, but we've been kicked out. Why? Because Quentin, always up for $1, is renting out the downstairs of World of Wonder for the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino, which is filming right now in and around World of Wonder.
Right.
And it's exciting and inconvenient because
Every road is closed.
every road. They're using Musso and Frank's. This movie is about the Manson murders, or it's adjacent to the Manson murders.
I think it is about the Manson murders, right? Or,
Yes. And we're keeping our eyes peeled because some of the stars, I don't know if they're next door right now, are Leonardo DiCaprio. Ever heard? He's a new actor. Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds is going to be here. Oh my God.
I'm more excited about Leonardo and Brad and
I can't wait to tell Burt.
Wait, Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate, doesn't she?
Yes.
And she looks beautiful. She looks just like her. I've seen the pictures.
I thought up on the fourth floor we could look down and see them coming out of their trailers. They put huge flags up around their trailers so you can't see them.
Yes, you know they're here. You know
Right,
the big
they're
stars
really
are here. They've taken over our parking lot, which a lot of productions do. Only Gangster Squad, which shot here a few years ago.
Well, I was just going to say, because I remember when Gangster Squad and what's his face?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. And we saw Ryan coming in and out of
And they shot like
Nurse.
a gun scene.
But he walked right past me, is my point.
Oh, okay.
Like literally walked past me, and we had eye contact, and we had a moment together. We did.
He's still talking about it.
Yeah, I know he is.
But you know it's an expensive production.
100 million.
Because there are, for Gangster Squad, there are all these 40 cars. For this, there are 60 cars up and down the street.
Yeah. And they've redone all the signage.
Yes, and the thing that really says is they have spent money on the extras. There's like busloads of extras being ordered on the street, and they're all in period costume. They have all the women have different hairdos. It's really sexy and really fun.
But the thing is Quentin Tarantino has been caught up in the Me Too movement, if you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of scandal about him. And then a lot of Sharon Tate's relatives, I think her sister, has come out condemning this movie, saying she's against it. A lot of people are saying that it's in poor taste.
Glorifying.
Well, that's my question. I mean, because Tarantino's movies have all been fictional and they've been orgies of violence and shooting. But this is based on a real life.
And
hideous
in Quentin Tarantino's hands, is he going to glorify, Charles Manson?
Now, he said, I mean, we don't really know what the story is, but he says, quote, it's a story that takes place in Los Angeles in 1969 at the height of hippie Hollywood. The two lead characters are Rick Dalton, Leo, and a former Western TV series star, and his longtime stunt double, Cliff, who's Brad Pitt. Both are struggling to make it in a Hollywood they don't recognize anymore. But Rick has a very famous next-door neighbor, Sharon Tate.
I mean, that's a good tease. That gets me interested. I can only imagine if you're Sharon Tate's sister, how awful and exploitive the whole Manson thing is. I have to also say there's something so fascinating about it culturally, right? That moment in time.
It's a touchstone, isn't it?
Yes.
I just don't know that I can support Tarantino anymore.
Well,
that's fair. You have your choice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's supposed to, the movie's supposed to be released on August 9th, 2019, which will
50th anniversary
of the Manson murders.
It has fascinated us. I mean, we last season we shot Drag Race up in Simi Valley, which was just a stone's throw from the caves where the Manson family had lived. And there'd be people, no one knew, but take a right to go to the Drag Race stage and take a left to go to the caves, and there was always people going to check it out. There's something fascinating about it. And I remember as a kid, Helter Skelter was on TV, that movie, and watching that. And it's something about how divided the country was. The hippie movement, it kind of was the end of the hippie movement.
Well,
in a weird
68
way.
was such a violent year because you had Martin Luther King, you had Andy Warhol, and everyone says it was the end of the 60s, right?
The 69 was the summer of hate is what they called it, because it was also Altamont. It was also a lot of,
Okay, so who's our resistor of the week?
James, I like yours. I like your angle.
Oh, well, I was going to say Vladimir Putin because
Thanks, Vlad.
Donald really walked into it this time. And when they said, Donald, you should be studying because he's a shark. And Donald said, I'm going to go golfing instead. And then when Vlad was there, or when they were talking, the two of them, and Vladimir just said, yes, I wanted Trump to win, and shot down everything that Trump had been saying before that. And then he said, I didn't like Hillary or whatever like that. And then at the very end, he takes the ball that won the soccer, the world match, soccer team, whatever the ball, and he gives it to Trump, and he says, this is a present for you. The ball is now in your court. And it was just it was like, I got chills because it was just, he was playing Donald Trump like a fiddle, and Trump fell right into it.
He's ridiculous, I'll give this to Barron. In fact, I'll throw it over to Melania, and bounced it to her. And then you see a picture. This is why I don't like Melania, and I'm not being sexist. I'm not being shameless. It's like, and she has the ball, and she has to sit there and smile. She's just so.
But it was such a metaphor for
Yes.
I
control you. I own you.
And what are you going to do about it?
I was going to say it's the Brits because they really showed Trump sort of how they felt. You know, 250,000 protested in London, many more in Glasgow.
The signs were hysterical.
Yes,
I'm missing
Wimbledon for this, you tangerine wank maggot.
Maggot.
Trump, you great muggle gipe. Or utter ball bag. I quite like Tuck Trump.
You guys have some good words.
Yeah.
And I'll do, this isn't the way to end the show, but like there are still friends on my Facebook feed from high school who still support.
And they will.
Well, all I can add to that is on Air Force One on Friday evening, Trump told reporters that many of the protests were in his favor.
Oh, they actually showed a picture of the Egyptian uprising or something like that, and Trump said that those were the pro-Trump people. He said it was like 2011, and he showed the picture of it and said that they were that was the other one that the new network wasn't showing you. I do want to say though that there were people on Fox who were a little upset with Trump last night, and that was that tick 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 tick. It might all start coming down. I don't know.
So. In the meantime, that's all we have time for today. In the meantime, watch $1 Million Listings, New York City, Season 7 on Bravo, new nights, Tuesdays, 10 p.m. When the Beat Drops is going to be on Logo, August premiere, August 9th.
Everybody can see it.
Yes, and you can stop sweating and start binging on Wow Presents Plus, because we got a summer sickening summer series. RuPaul's Drag Race, Season 10, Miss Cracker's Tutorials, Drag Tots, Different for Girls, and Follow Me, which is a new anthology series of a day in the life of queens like Aja, Gia, Gunn, Vanessa, and
Miss Vanjie.
Only $3.99 a month.
Stop plugging. For the love of God.
Oh, I know. Thanks for tuning in to the
warm in here. If this goes on much longer, I'm about to collapse.
I know. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in.